Okay, this is just kind of a quick mix that I am doing at my house, my home recording studio. There's a difference between recording studio mixing and live sound mixing, but some of the principles overlap, and this might help some of you at least to see one person's approach to this. There's not one right way, but this is just kind of where I would start, and it'll show some basic principles like the difference that leveling makes, the difference that EQ makes, why you need to hear every instrument, that sort of thing. So what we're working with is something that our worship team recorded at a recording workshop at my house a while back. It's just one verse and one chorus of Lord, I Need You. And it sounds kind of like this. That's the end of the verse going into the chorus. And the levels are set all just out of the box the way they were recorded. So you hear it's kind of all mushing together, and there's no EQ, there's no effects to speak of on this at the moment also. So what we're going to go back and do is at least try and set some of the levels. So we're going to start with just the kick drum, just to kind of find how things are working. We have just the kick there, and you can add the snare in. Get the snare where you can kind of hear it in a good balance, and then at the church, this hats, toms, and room channel would all be one big channel. You kind of add that in so you can hear the hats coming in a little bit. One tom there, and then the room adds in a lot. So it kind of sounds like a drum kit now. And you can, next step would be to add the bass. And honestly, a lot of people would start just getting the kick drum and the bass kind of lined up. And you want the bass and the kick to be sounding like a single unit in a perfect world. So if you solo both of those out, you can kind of hear that slap, the kick drum and the bass going at the same time. And if you get that leveled just right, that's a really good thing. And so when you add the snare back in and the rest of the kit, it sounds kind of like that. And I tend to always start with the instrumentation. So we'll go back to the beginning, start adding more stuff in. Here's a piano. The piano is kind of loud, and you always pick. It's really important that you listen to the song in advance so that you know whether or not it's a piano and keys driven song or a guitar driven song. And also by listening to the song in advance, you get a feel for what the mix is supposed to sound like. Does it use a lot of reverb? Does it use a little? Which instruments have to be loud? So you have to hear everything, unless it's bad. We'll talk about that more later. But in general, you want to hear everything in the mix, but there are certain instruments and vocal parts that are supposed to be mixed louder than others. We'll talk about that as we add more in a second.